Right, so hey everyone and welcome back to another budget photography video. So this is the Canon 5D Mark II and this is the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. So what camera is, well, better? The 10-year-old, out of date, full frame Canon camera that takes CF cards, or the nice, shiny, brand new, better image processing, better stabilization Note 20 Ultra? Well, why don't we go over some of their specs so you can kind of understand what's happening here. So let's start with the Canon 5D Mark II. As I said, we have a 20 megapixel full frame camera. It takes EF lenses and we have 1080p at 24 or 30 frames per second, and that's about it. But it is a camera, so it has that going for it. Whereas the Note 20 Ultra has 108, yes, 108 megapixels. We have 8K recording at 24 frames per second. We have a telephoto lens inbuilt of up to 5 times. 5 times telephoto lens in this, yes, really rather big, but in comparison, that is, you know, in comparison to this, it's really small, if I'm brutally honest. There is in-body stabilization, which means video can be self-stabilized, so you get buttery smooth footage, and especially because this shoots up to about 240 frames per second, and more modes than you can throw a stick at. So, why don't we go out and actually put these two to the test? Yeah, let's go. Well, come on then, hurry up. I ain't got all day. We're at my local lake and it's really quite sunny out. It's not really the best conditions, although sometimes the sun goes behind the clouds, so it keeps switching and changing. So we're gonna have to try and keep the, you know, if we're gonna shoot in the clouds or in the sunlight, then we're gonna have to keep doing, you know, different tests. So why don't we start with the Note 20 Ultra? So as I said earlier, this has 108 megapixels. Now, most of the time, the Note 20 Ultra will do something called pixel binning, and that is where you get 2 pixels and you turn it into 1 pixel. Yes, you turn 2 into 1. That was absolutely rubbish, wasn't it? Yep, it was. So 9 times out of 10, you won't be getting 108 megapixels, you will actually be getting about 12, which isn't too bad, really. It means you get a bigger sensor, which means more depth of field and just a better image, if I'm brutally honest. So I think we'll take a picture in both 108 megapixels and the pixel binned image, and we'll compare it to the 5D Mark II, which I have just off camera, just over there. So let's get some pictures with the Note 20 Ultra. So I have actually already done a test with the Note 20 Ultra camera test. So, and it's a pretty decent camera. So there is the standard camera, and it's kind of okay, but let's go with the ultra wide. So we're just going to go with this, actually no, let's go with the standard so that we can pixel bin. We've got a standard 4:3 aspect ratio. We've got some good colors up here. So let's just snap a picture like that. And then I think what we'll do is we'll move over here as well, and we'll use the 5 times zoom to just zoom in. I'm not going to go anything more than that. I mean, I can go into that little boy over there. Boy, not boy. It's not a little child. But I think we will just stick with the 5 times. Oops. Just there. And we'll just snap a picture like that. So that is the pixel binned image. So why don't we go with the 108 megapixel image? So we're back in the camera and we're going to go to the aspect ratio, and we're just going to choose 4:3, so it's the same aspect. Oh, same aspect ratio, and we're going to choose 108 megapixels. And we are just going to snap that. There we go. And then, now we can't really, you know, zoom in over to that little spray thing over there like we could when it was pixel binning, because it is just using this main, main sensor. But come on, is that going to take? There we go. I'm going to take that again so I can give it a better chance, because it does seem to be taking quite a while to actually take the image. And I think what we could do actually later on is maybe see if we can actually, let's have a look if we can. Let's have a look at that zoom. Let's see if we can zoom in all digitally and see what we get. I mean, it's kind of okay. It's kind of not okay, but I don't really think anyone's going to be, zooming in at 108 megapixels to, get that amount of detail. I mean, if we zoom in on here, we can zoom in quite far onto these flats to the point of where you could probably identify somebody in the flats. Whereas if we go back to the pixel binned image, we can zoom in quite a way, but it does kind of start to fall apart as you zoom in more. I mean, this is as far as I can zoom in, so it's not too bad. So now it's time for the 5D Mark II. Now, because this is such an old camera, I can't really screen record it, so you're just gonna have to watch me take pictures. And yes, I am wearing my coat now because it has now gotten quite cold. So it does actually look like I'm wearing a kind of a, if I do that up, it actually looks like I'm wearing a dead animal, but I'm not. I'm just wearing a dead cat, as you already know. Anyway, I'm gonna go and you're just gonna hear me from the microphone, and hopefully you should be able to still see me. I'm gonna try and take the same pictures that I took with the Note 20 Ultra, and I'm going to use, let's bring that shutter down to, that's 640 f6, f6.3 and an ISO of 100. And then I'll get a nice wide shot at 24. And then I'm going to move over here and I'm going to get a nice telephoto at 105. And there we go. So right now you should be seeing both Canon pictures, if I've remembered to edit this footage right. Now, you know what I am actually going to do? I'm going to give the Note 20 Ultra another chance, in a way, because the Note 20 Ultra can shoot what's called DNG. DNG is kind of a baby RAW file. I'm going to turn these settings down because it's getting bright out again, so I need to change my f-stop. Although by the time I've changed it, it probably would have, the sun probably would have gone back in again. You know what, I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it at that, I think. No, ooh, there we go. Yeah, I'm just going to leave my settings so it's blown out. I hate exposing videos. Anyway, so the Note 20 Ultra can shoot DNG, which is a baby RAW in a way. You get some, kind of manipulation with the picture. So let's go into actually start a screen recording. I always forget where screen recording is on the Note 20 Ultra because I'm still not used to it. There we go. So now we're in the normal 108 megapixel, and that laser autofocus, I've got to say, is pretty damn good. So let's go into Pro mode, which will enable, there we go, RAW and JPEG copies of each picture will be saved to the internal storage. So as you can see, it's really, really overexposed. So I think we'll bring the shutter speed to there. We've got an ISO of 50. And let's see if we can we zoom out? Nope, we've got a 1 times, 2 times, all the way up to 10 times, which I wouldn't really recommend. I think this is also shooting at 108 megapixels as well. So that's quite good. So it means we've got quite a bit of image data. I think I'm actually going to change, I'm going to underexpose this slightly. By about there. There we go. And then I think I'm going to go round to this and I'm going to zoom in. I probably shouldn't because it'll take all the, information away. As you can actually see, it's struggling to focus, but that's okay because we can change, that's not focus. We can change the focus if it wants to let me. And for some reason it won't seem to let me. There we go. So let's just focus manually on that. So we've got some nice green lines coming in, which is a good thing, which means that stuff is in focus. So we'll put it there. and we will snap that picture. And you can already actually see how kind of bad it's going to be, if I'm brutally honest. So now that we've given both devices kind of a fair chance on either end, really, they're both shot in RAW, why don't we go back and edit some of these pictures, see what we can get. So now that we are back in Lightroom, let's have a look at the images that we've got. So let's start with this first one. I believe this is from a Samsung. Yep, this is from the Samsung. This is a DNG file, which is a baby RAW. So let's bring them highlights down. It's quite blown out in the sky. We'll maybe lift the shadows up, and my Apple Pencil is playing up, so I'm gonna put that back up there. I'm just use my hands. So we'll lift the shadows. We'll drop the highlights. Bring the whites down. I quite like the blacks with all the contrast on the water. So we'll definitely bring the contrast up, but we'll lift that slightly. But I think what we'll do is we'll go into this and we will just pull up like that and drop the blacks here. And I think we will pull in some more contrast. Oh God, look at that, that's horrible. Just like that. I mean, if I was to lift that over, yeah, no, the buildings ruin it. Let's just collapse that down and we'll bring that back up. And then we can change the temperature. Ooh, a little bit too. Just like that. So that makes the water look really quite nice, actually. And then I think we will go with not a preset. The same thing again, but I think we'll do it from the bottom and then just go, whoops, with that one. Pull down. Again, the same thing. I'm just going from the top to the bottom rather than bottom to top, because it means that you can kind of edit each individual part of the image. You can blow it out, you can underexpose it. And to be fair, there's not really much information here that I'm really kind of happy with. It's not really the best kind of image. DNG has never been that good, really. If I'm brutally honest with you, I'd never really liked it. It's just never been that good of a image file type. So, but that is that image kind of done. I mean, if I can just bring the exposure up on the whole image, that's pretty good. I mean, the blues are a bit high. If you look at the, I don't want to do that. If you look over to the top left, the blues are a bit crushed, but I think this image looks quite good, especially the water down here. I could probably cut that out and use that even on another image if I wanted to. So this image isn't completely gone. So let's have a look at this. Is this another DNG? Yep, this is another DNG. So we've already done DNG, so we won't do. So let's have a look at the JPEG. Now JPEGs are notoriously hard to edit, so I think I am just going to put a preset on it, and we'll just have a look through them and see what we can get. I quite like that. So I think what we'll do is we'll just straighten that up a bit. Push done. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I mean, with a JPEG image, you're never really going to be able to get, you know, as much information as a DNG. And with a DNG, you're never going to have as much with a RAW. So yeah, I mean, the image quality is okay. 12 megapixels, it's not really the best, the quality when zoomed in, but you're not really going to be zooming in. I mean, if we look at this normal one, that looks out of focus. This isn't even very good neither. Have a look at this one, see what we can do. And now this is better. We can zoom in, and as I actually said earlier on, see someone that is in these buildings. You probably couldn't identify them, but you probably could see them, which is kind of creepy in a way. So let's go with one of the Canon RAWs, so which is just here. So we can see the settings there at the just off to the side on the right hand side. So I had to figure out which was left and which was right then. Yeah, so just on the left we've got 1/640 f6 at an ISO of 100. So that's not too bad. Now, because this is RAW, we've got all of the image data we could possibly imagine. So if I want to bring the highlights down, I can lift the shadows. I can mess around with the whites, I can lift the blacks, sort the exposure out, adding some contrast, bring the exposure back down again. Actually, I think that the highlights are fully down. Wow, that is still a really bright image. I can change the temperature properly and make it just look a hell of a lot nicer. I can go into color grading or color mixing, that's it. And we'll sort these blues and teals out. Oh, look at that now, that is horrible. We do want just about there. Like that, that's where I like it personally. You don't have to, that's fine. Oh, too much sharpening. Radius, some noise reduction, not that we really need it because it's ISO 100. And bang, there it is. So let's zoom in on that. And this is the kind of quality we're getting from a 20 megapixel full frame sensor. So you do have to kind of bear that in mind. I mean, yeah, you could probably, you know, identify people from this. It's just, but not really. It's about the same quality actually as the 108 megapixel. It is starting to fall apart when you zoom fully in. Although I did notice actually, if you look at the center of the screen, you can see this towel, and it's obviously a white towel, but that there's purple bits around it, and it's chromatic aberration. And actually, I've just noticed there is actually a woman standing next to that towel. Well, what I assume to be a woman because I can't properly see what it is or who they are. So I'm assuming that it's a woman. But yeah, there is some chromatic aberration next to that towel, and it's quite weird because I was using a 24-105 L lens. So usually Canon glass, when it's an L lens, you don't have much chromatic aberration. Look, we can actually see it just here on this pole in the middle there, and around these, I don't even know what they are, to be fair. But I mean, the likelihood of someone actually, I mean, yeah, you've got it all here. Ugh. Oh god, now look at that, that's blue and red and god knows what else. The likelihood of you actually, you know, zooming in that far, I mean, you can't actually see it on the entire image, so that's not too bad, but it is a bit of a bummer, especially when you're paying god knows how much for lenses. So let's just, what else can we have a look at? Let's have a look at that one. Again, this is just a standard Canon picture really. We've got a fair enough amount of detail here that we can zoom in. And you could probably use about, maybe you could zoom into about there, and that would be kind of usable if you were to put it on Instagram or maybe Facebook. But once you zoom anything past that, it's just, yeah, it just looks horrible. So I really wouldn't advise it. Let's have a look at them highlights, exposure, contrast, whites down, blacks up, shadows up. So yeah, there's that. So in a nutshell, is the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra better than the 10-year-old Canon 5D? Well, yes and no. It's not, there's no kind of cut, you know, there's no kind of simple answer to that. There's no yes or no, because there are things that the Canon does, like depth of field, better dynamic range, and there's things that the Samsung does better. It's just really what you need. But in general, yeah, the Canon 5D is going to be better because it is a dedicated camera, it is a dedicated sensor, has dedicated batteries for it, so the batteries will last longer. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.